Welcome travellers. Today I'm just going to show some figurative thumbnails. Now I just did some exercise this morning just to see where I'm comfortable, and as you can see it's a great way of starting off how to capture a full-length figure without much pressure and literally the size of your thumb. Like, you can be as small as you like. In this case I'm just probably going to have them around 3 inches long. Now the reason why I'm going to do this is because I want to just show you an example of quite a well-known artist. You may have heard of him, Frank Frazetta. I've got a few books on him, and I was just thumbing through this morning, just some ideas of how I can get a refresher and exercise some loose sketches, even for how refined his work, his final work was in his oil paintings. He would always start out exercising the posture, the pose, what the scene's going to look like, no matter how rough. Okay, so try not to think too tight and too concerned about accuracy at this point. If you've got a sketchbook, great. I want you to explore with me using just a pen. I want you to push the blue pencil away now. Just explore with the pen, make as many mistakes as you'd like, and just keep exploring the figure in different ways. Also consider the figure in any kind of posture is going to have some three-dimensional element to it. As you can see where Frank Frazetta had shaded the areas that are in the background and not in the foreground. So the foreground has less work done at the front in terms of cross-hatching. So take that into consideration, and also try to take into consideration here, for example, in this character, the left shoulder, we can see his right shoulder is hidden behind his body. So you could use this method called the Y method, and you're probably asking why. And what I mean by Y, as in it's when objects are behind each other, like this. So try to, and then if that object's behind the other, think about shading it in. Okay, so take that into consideration. I know it's very simple, but that's quite important when it comes to drawing three-dimensional pictures. I think we also had a bit of a sense of humour as well. But that's what we need to do. We need to not get too upset about making mistakes and end up like this poor chap at the end of your desk clutching a pencil. So we're going to draw very loosely, very gestural, just like these. Let's give it a go. Put that book aside. Well, let's just jump straight in, shall we? Great, let's try and lock the focus, because I always seem to forget to do that. Hopefully you'll be able to see the drawing now. Yeah. Now when it comes to sketching in your sketchbook, I just need to clear the camera. Sorry, I am rough doing this YouTube channel, forgive me. The trick is having the right attitude. So when it comes to your sketchbook, treat it as a diary of exploration, and do not, under any circumstances, rub out your work. So I'm going to start with a head here. There's that spine that I showed you. Let's say the feet would be down here somewhere. And then hip areas around here. And let's just go for it. Think about simple anatomy, the rib cage, things like that, hip, knee. You notice I'm being kind of very light with the pen right now. Okay, I'm pretty happy. I think I know where things are going now. He's going to have his arm out here. I'm going to tuck his elbow in behind the body. Yeah, let's just go for it. Let's do the back there. Hip. Now I've already realised that my character in length is too short. That's fine, you can go past that point. There's the thigh here, the knee, there's the foot down here. Also think about not spending too long on these. In fact, you know, I'm going to change the direction on the fly so his right leg is behind his body. He's going to extend it outwards because I want to balance the character. Also, don't feel like you need to fill in every little detail. You just really want to get the overall shape, no matter how rough it is. These are just doodles. But already it's creating a nice structure of a character here. And what you then do is, after when you finish with the thumbnail, you can then render it again in more detail. Let's do it so he's holding a shield, background, and he's got his sword, so something like that. Let's do another one. I think the hard part is trying to figure out what pose you want to do, but I think the best way to force your hand is to just do something like that. I think, who knows where it's going to end up. Head's going to be up here, foot down there, halfway the hips, shoulder. When you get better at this, you probably won't no longer need to do this, but I'm just showing you as an example. So I've got the shoulder dipping in here. Let's do that rib cage. Hip. So it's the knee. All I'm going to do is leg sticking out that way. Leg coming down, and his foot. Again, I'm going to do these all action poses, so if they're fighting. There's the sword. And he's thrusting, so he's going to have his extended reach. The floor will be here. Forearm here. Hand is almost hiding behind his torso. So that's the background, this is the foreground. This leg here is going to be the foreground. That's going to be behind him. So already I can shade that in. See, I've chosen to do less lines on this. I'm a bit more delicate in how I approach. I think the easy mistake to do is when you're starting out is that you end up, when you panic, you end up scribbling in more detail, and it can make the drawing even difficult to decide where to go with. You know, you're kind of, the more you place down, the harder it is for you to work with. So it's like, leave some gaps. Try not to tie yourself down too much. See that, we've got quite a nice striking pose there, almost like a fencing pose. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just keep doing these. And have a theme as well. In this case I've chosen sword fighting themes. Let's do it again. Let's just do a curved spine like that. Head is up here. Hip is there. I think that will be enough for me to go on. Again, I don't really have an idea. I'm purely exploring the human figure, but also trying to imagine the moment I get the head down, and then depending on where I put the shoulders. So say if I put the shoulders as if he's risen the shoulders up here, So the halfway across the leg. Now it looks like he's, I don't know, is he stooping his head down, the shoulders are up. Let's go with that. Bring his rib cage here down to his hips. And I'm going to follow that curve in a way that, you know, this will be the ground. There's his knee. This is his other leg. So you know as much as what I'm doing right now. I really don't know where this is going, so, but that's okay. You can almost fill in the areas which I haven't filled in. You know, you've got enough to go on what he's doing there. He's leaping up almost like he's seen a rat, like a little rodent, and he's like, oh god. But I'm going to stick with the sword fighting. So he's going to have his arm out here, his forearm down here. There's his hand. And he's pointing the sword at the poor little defenseless mouse. Because it's given him a spook. So he's frightened. He's leapt up in the air. Now his shoulders are up. In a panic. That seems quite funny, doesn't it? Shall we do one more? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so you see what I've done so far. See how the first one was a little rough, and then I decided to use less line work. I don't need to fill in so much. So you learn as you go. It's just like when you go out and exercise, you have to warm up, realise, oh yes, maybe if I just be a bit more selective with where I put the pen, then it feels like I have more control. And it limits the mistakes, but if you make a mistake, that's fine. Use the pen because it'll stop you from rubbing out, and you'll be able to learn from your mistakes. Like I consider some of these my mistakes that I did earlier. And then I feel like this is probably my strongest page now that I've been doing it for about 10 minutes before I started filming. Again, just a bit of exercise and your brain will start to work out what you need to do. Let's do one more. Let's arch the back like that. Head's up here. Foot down there, hip here. That's all I need. And let's go for it. Maybe I can do it where someone's been struck by the sword. So that's underneath his chin. Shoulders. So if he's been struck, maybe he can grasp his chest. Here. There's his forearm. Let's probably extend a little far, but it's like, oh no, he's been hit by the sword. He's falling backwards. And so if he is falling, I can make the pose really unbalanced. Gives a bit more drama. He's dropped his sword. So he's mortally wounded. There's the floor. I think that's enough for today. I think you get the idea. So when it comes again to simplifying the anatomy, think of those shapes. Head, neck, rib cage. Remember that diaphragm there. Hips down here. And so on. You get the idea. Knees. shoulders, and little squares for the hands. It's easy as that. Look what I've managed to do. I've managed to really accentuate the postures just by curving the spine here, and all you have to do is just do this and see what you can get. Let me know how you get on. Nobody's watching at the moment, but hopefully historically people can look back on this and find it useful. But thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.